Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of The Ball is Round. My name is Hady Raphael, and tonight on the show, CF Montreal loses its first game of the season. The League's Cup 2024 is set to go, and Mauro Biello drops the roster ahead of the crucial game for Canada's men's national team. That and a lot more on episode 170 of The Ball is Round. And I'm joined today by two great friends. So first of all, our usual co-host, Elias Grigoriadis. Hey, Elias, how are you today?
Oh, not too bad. Not too bad.
What did Barcelona do today?
On aggregate, the men's and women's team won 10-0 today.
Wow.
The women's team won 7. The men's team beat Atleti 3-0. So
wow.
It was a good Sunday. We'll get to Saturday, but it was a good Sunday.
Good Sunday. And we have a special guest today, none other than Matthias van Halst. Matthias, how are you today? And how did Molenbeek did today? I think they had a game against Anderlecht.
No. They had a game at Cercle Brun, and they lost 4-0, and they finished last of the regular season. So the playoffs will be very, very tough for them. They only took 2 points since the beginning of the year. So it's not going great.
It's not going great for them, yeah, unfortunately. So now I know a lot of people are not really big followers of the Belgian league. So, the bottom four, I think, fight for the relegation, right?
Yeah, there are playoffs, but it's like a mini league between the four of them, and they keep the points of the regular season. So the regular season remains important. It's not a restart from scratch.
Wow. Okay, and it's home and away?
Home and away, yeah.
Okay, wow. Okay, that's gonna be tough. But at least they're playing against clubs that are not too strong than them. So you never know. Right? That's
let's hope.
Like we say here, the ball is round, right? So we never know what's gonna happen. I won't talk about my own club because we failed miserably today. But and I think our season is already scratched. No. Let's not say that, but it might be scratched. But let's talk about CF Montreal. CF Montreal yesterday had a very important game at Chicago. Very important. Why? Because we wanted to see if Laurent Courtois' men were going to be able to build on what they already did in the first 3 games. 7 points out of 9 in the first 3 games. And yesterday, that was that game at Chicago. Of course, a weaker team than the other 3 that they played on paper, but still a team that was willing to fight until the end. So at that point, we were expecting a very close-up game. Unfortunately, loss for CF Montreal 4-3. It was a very, very difficult game. Laurent Courtois chose the same starting 11 now last week. So I'll repeat the starting 11. I forgot to have the picture, but Laurent Sirois in goal. We had on the right Gabriel Corbo, in the middle Joel Waterman, on the left Alvarez. As wing backs, we have on the right we had Rouen, on the left Lassiter, in the midfield Piet Chouanière. Up front we had Duke. And in place of Vilsaint, it was Sunusi Ibrahim, and up front, Matthias Kokaro. Looking at that starting 11, Elias, did you think that this was the way to go, or do you think that a bit of rotation could have been maybe better now that the game is finished?
No, I mean, if it ain't broke, they played so well against Miami, and health not again, you rotate. Right now, at the beginning of the season, you rotate for injury concerns. But if you're unbeaten on the road to start the season, you keep going with whatever is working.
Yeah, no, exactly. Now, Matthias, you see a player like Sunusi Ibrahim get that nod, get that first team call-up, that starting 11 call-up. How good is this for him and also for the CF Montreal project? Because he just got an extension, contract extension at the beginning of the season.
It shows that he belongs to the plan. He belongs to the team, to the roster, and to not to the key players, but to the important players and to the turnover. So it's very important to him. It's very important to the group, and it shows that Laurent Courtois integrates him in it, and he already showed it by making him selling on in previous games. So Ibrahim is part of the group, and it's not a key player like Kokaro or Martinez, but he is a sub. He will be an important sub this year, but yet is far back in the hierarchy because it was because Martinez is not ready. Vilsen is injured. Kokaro remains the starting striker, so he's like number 4, but he receives his chance.
Exactly. He got his chance, as you said, not even as a striker, but just behind the striker.
Yes.
Also a position that he can play in, which is really interesting to see that. And I feel that Laurent Courtois is going to play, the strikers and the offensive midfielders are going to fight for all 3 spots. So that's going to be very interesting going forward, in my opinion. Now, I know everybody wants to listen to one thing and one subject today. It's the refereeing. Okay, so let's get this out of the way. Matthias, talk to me about your thoughts about the refereeing during that game, because there's a lot of talking points. You can go, you can start with the first one, finish with the last one. You can just concentrate on one call. The ball is yours.
Sure. There are so many talking points. You can give me tips and hints. I'll start with the first Chicago goal. Is there offside or not? It's so close. Don't remember that it has to be clear and obvious to turn off the decision of the ref on the field by the VAR. So for me, it's not clear and obvious. And don't forget that it's the most advanced part of the body that counts for scoring a goal, that counts. So the arms, forget them. And if the whole body is behind the toe, but just the toe of the player that makes the player offside is closer to the goal, the player is onside. So it can be that, but it's so close and the angle is so difficult. So it's millimetric offside. I'm a fan of signing. And in some signing races, the camera is in front of the arrival of the line. And it can take until 15 minutes to see who won the race. So sometimes if it's so close, just you don't see it with the camera. We have to be fair with that. And we don't have to say, oh, it's 1 millimeter. And yeah, but did the guy who pushed the button at the right time when the ball leaves the player who makes the pass, or is it 1 second or 1/10 of a second too early or too late? Yeah. So it's very, very close. So I think it was just in front of the assistant coach. He took a decision and it cannot be overturned, in my opinion. That's
that was a bit tough, but. What I found very surprising on that topic, and I'll let you go forward with the other topics right after, Matthias. But what I really found really interesting is that we didn't see a lot of replays. We saw one replay, and then we didn't see anything else. And then the play got started again, and we haven't seen that. So I feel that. I don't know. It's a bit fishy, right, Elias? That usually whenever there's a VAR check, you see 1, 2, 3, 4 replays. You see different angles. And this time around, you saw
there is always a VAR check, but there was not a VAR check. Let me explain. The VAR always checks what happened, but he decides to say, okay, we will check further and stop the game to check further. But this time there was no VAR check, official VAR check, if I can call it like that. So they decided it didn't need to be checked further to be a actual VAR check. Call it how you want.
Oh, okay. So for them, it didn't even go to VAR in a certain way. Like it was
exactly.
checked like fast, and it was approved, and then
exactly.
Let's move on. But Elias, we saw so many pictures online, so many people complaining about that goal. Listen, I'm going to be very honest. For me, I can't say that it's 100% a wrong decision from the ref. Like, as Matthias said, it's not conclusive in my opinion. Even if I would have liked to see a lot more angles, I would have liked to be certain, and I would have liked, MLS or the referees in that game to show more angles so that the Montreal fans are at ease. Unfortunately, we didn't see that. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I think, well, there's two main takeaways I had from that. The first one was, what angles did the officials have that we didn't? Because if that's the only angle that the VAR booth was privy to before when making their decision, then that's an entirely different problem. Because
Yeah,
that is a terrible angle to judge offsides from.
I
If we
agree.
had, again, you can't have 1,000 cameras and stuff like that, obviously, but if you had, more cameras, if pro decides to release that image, that's at their discretion. The second one is what defines clear and obvious, right? Because here, I spoke to my brother about it, and he looked at it and he goes, he's probably offside, but VAR is never going to overturn that. Because the second that it's not like I'm a body length ahead of you, or that the forward is clearly in front, as in like his body's in front, not just like a foot or an or a shoulder or anything, but a whole body part is in front of, it was Lassiter, I believe, or it was
Yeah.
Alvarez, I think, who kept him on. Then you can have that discussion of clear and obvious. There's no doubt in my mind that was offside. That being said, there is not enough evidence to overturn it, and those two things can be true at the same time. And I think that's what, we had this discussion about the lines and the offside.
Yeah,
And
you don't like lines.
we've had it
I
ad
like
nauseum.
lines.
I hate lines for that exact reason, because like Matthias
Headlines
said,
too.
there is a margin of error, because we don't know the exact instant the ball is played. And if you're judging by, the width of a hair, you cannot be taking goals away for that. Here, if
Those
one,
those Haile Selassie take advantage of his position to score the goal.
I think
That's the
so.
spirit of the game.
yes, exactly. And again, there's no doubt in my mind that he was offside. That being said, from a VAR perspective, within their mandate, they can't overturn something like that. Not
Interesting.
with not with the images at their disposal. If there
I,
was 100 cameras lined up around the field, and you can have a perfect look, and VAR without the lines can be like, I can confidently say he's offside,
yeah,
then that's a
yeah.
different discussion. But that's not a reality.
I think
So
all three of us are on the same wavelength, right? So for us, it's not clear and obvious for different reasons, of course. So for us, that wasn't a way to overturn that decision. So
no,
I think
this
we
feels more like
all three of us,
an institutional failure than a VAR failure.
yeah,
As in, I don't
yeah.
think VAR was given enough to work with. But VAR made no mistake in and of itself.
Second situation, Matthias, I'll let you continue, and I want you to talk about the Brady call, or the Brady non-call, of the goalkeeper of Chicago that went out of the box. I, you know, I'll let you talk before I talk. So.
Okay, that's a very tough one, to be honest. That one deserved more replays, because you don't see exactly what happens. The referees are on the field. They are closer than us on TV to watch it, because the camera was far. The angle was very difficult. I thought at the first time that there was a handball, to be honest. And in front of my TV, I thought that the referee would call the foul. I will be honest, but I'm not on the field, and I have not the view he has. And the referee is supposed to be in a better position than me.
It's funny because I saw so many pictures, and on this specific case, it's not an offside thing. Did he touch the ball with his hand or not? And was his hand in a natural position or not? In my opinion, he touched it with his hand, and no, it was in a natural position. For me, it's a straight red, and there's no question about it. And the fact that he touches it with his hand when Kokero was through on goal. The ball had gone through underneath the keeper. And if the ball didn't touch the hand of the keeper, that would have been Kokero in front of goal alone. So for me, it was a clear red. Elias, you said you talked with your brother. His brother is a referee. So what did he think about that call?
He kind of dismissed it pretty quickly for the same reasons that Matthias had his doubts, and just that there's too much going on before the handball. It hit Brady like 2 or 3 times before it bounced off different parts of his body before the handball, right? Which is why calling it a handball is a little bit harsh. My bigger concern was not that. My bigger concern was the tackle, like right before halftime. I think. Hang on, it was Chase Gasper. It was a 2-footed foul from behind on Kokoro that was given a yellow card, which was very orange, and you could argue should have been red because they call it scissor tackles when you make a tackle with 1 foot and then your trailing leg
Yeah,
closes. Um, it's
that's usually a
considered
straight red.
it's considered at the very least reckless, right? Which is immediately a yellow when a tackle like that happens. The fact that it was from behind and it was at full speed, I think you could argue that was red. Again, this is when you get into the subjectivity of the laws of the games because it all depends on situation and it depends on the force involved in the tackle and stuff like that. Something like that was very, very, very. He was very lucky not to be sent off, and I think that had a better shout for a red card than Brady's because of the fact that there was so much happening before the ball touched Brady's hand. See, the thing is, before Courtois brought it up, I didn't think much about it.
I was in front of my TV and I got up and I'm like, red!
For the exact same reason that you didn't really see Quackero complain, and he was right there, because there's so much that happened between Quackero playing the ball past Brady and then it hitting his hand that you can't justify calling a handball offense in that. And that part I understood. My bigger concern was the scissor tackle because that had the potential to seriously injure Kokoro.
Matthias, did you see
to
that?
Come back on the goalkeeper.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
I will say something I always say, but it's very, very difficult to do when there's a difficult situation. Handballs are one of them. Just try it at home. But in this, you need a big home or a big garden. It's frozen outdoors, but go away and where could Brady put his arm and his hand else from there?
But he was
natural. That's difficult. And I'm to be fair, I will repeat. When I saw the play on TV, I thought it was a foul, and but afterwards, I'm not 100% sure. And I'm a guy who trusts referees, even if people are throwing tomatoes on me on their screen now. But that's the kind of guy I am. So I will trust the referee on this one. But it's tough. It's tough.
So when you trust the referee on the offside, then you trust him on the goalkeeper. Do you trust him on the tackle that Elias talked about?
To be honest, I don't remember exactly the tackle to talk about in depth.
Yeah, no.
I just looked it up. It was in 45 plus 4, and is not great. I just looked it up again now. It's not good.
It's not good, right? Other talking points, because there was a lot. So, Matthias, I'll let you go with the next one.
We spoke about the VAR, so I will continue with it, and the red card to Edwards. What Edwards did was just silly, and because that there is VAR, and VAR, they often don't see if the contact is hard, if you hit hard the opponent, what you do. They just don't see, there's contact, there's no contact, and sometimes they react just for that. And I don't think that it's natural. I think it's more natural that the referee decides on what happens on the field. And so don't touch with your elbow the opponent in the box. It's just useless. Don't do that. And was supposed to come back in Montreal with more experience, more maturity than he had when he left. And that was not a show of that. So it was a huge mistake to do that. Did it deserve a red card? Again, we didn't see it very well on TV. It was very, very far. The linesman was so close to it, and he reacted immediately. And there was no reaction. Everybody thought that it was maybe deserved and that something happened. Something happened that we didn't see on TV, to be honest, because I watched the game on Apple TV in French. I watched highlights on TSN and RDS afterwards, and nobody said, okay, if you have very, very good glass, maybe you can see something. And yeah, we don't see anything on TV. So it was just something silly, and that could have been overturned by VAR with a good camera, maybe. So just don't take that chance. Don't take that chance, please. Learn from that.
Yeah, no, that's it looks like a rookie mistake in a way. Now, a lot of people were saying that, the elbow, it wasn't too vicious because it was considered as a violent conduct. So at that point, straight red and a penalty. Elias, in your opinion, is there any doubt in that? When a player just does that, for me, he has he's conscious that he's doing something that's illegal to do, right? So whatever the strength of the elbowing in a way, for me, it doesn't justify just a yellow card. For me, it's a red card. For me, there's no way that it was anything else than a red card, and it's completely stupid from Raheem Edwards. What do you think, Elias?
You have to go. This is, the nitpicky part. You have to go into the letter of the law, and you have to look into what defines violent conduct. Was it stupid? Yes. Was it brash? Was it irresponsible? You could throw every adjective in the dictionary at him, but the one you can throw was violent, right? There's no reason for him to have done that, and even with a yellow card, you're conceding a penalty because of the nature of the foul and everything like that. But that's not a red card. There's and I kind of had a conversation about this with my brother, and this kind of lends into the inexperience of the refs, who have not refed at MLS level, who have at most refed at NCAA Division 1, who have refed at occasionally USL. And this is the gulf in experience, but also the gulf in familiarity with the level of play. And if they're not conscious of what, is considered violent versus just aggressive and rash, then
But that's
they're
more than aggressive, man. Like, he does the movement.
yeah.
Like,
It's on purpose.
it's
And
on
again,
purpose.
you have to also remember the game we're playing. He not only did, I don't remember who was elbowed, but not only did he not sell it, he stared around as if he was almost bit by a mosquito. He was like,
Yeah,
"Ref,
but
did you see what he did to me?"
so
No,
do you
but
condone, people just, falling and making the whole
I'm
dump?
saying that if he made a meal out of it, it's a lot harder to say no. But the thing is, not only did he not make a meal out of it,
So
he barely registered it happened. It's not violent. Just because if he did that in the same force in his throat or in his face or anywhere else, if he hit him in the arm instead of the ribs, then they have it, right. And that's the nature of it. The act itself was not violent. It was not violent conduct. If you go off the letter of the law. So I think that is my main gripe with that, is that it was so mishandled. And at the same time, the assistant ref, if you're assigning a straight red card, you stop the play immediately. The play went on for a minute.
yeah,
That's why the TV director didn't know what to show, because nobody saw it. If the official sees it and you think that's a straight red, you stop the play immediately.
it
If it's
wasn't
violent conduct.
it was the assistant referee. So I think by the
Exactly.
time
He raises his
explained
flag. They have communications. There's 1,000 ways to get in touch with the ref. You raise your flag, you stop play immediately, and then you issue the red card.
Yeah.
That was
Interesting.
that, but that's not, that has nothing to do with the red card itself. That's just again a display that the entire procedure was
Yeah.
mishandled.
You know what? I have a problem with the law in that instance. Uh, yes, of course. It's the law of the game, right? It's what happens on the pitch, and it's written and everything. But if in that instance, like for that situation now, giving a penalty for me, it's not at all something that I agree with. Like I know that the referee followed the law, completely agree with that. But for me, the ball was nowhere to be seen. He was so far from it, and it should be an indirect free kick. That's what I think should happen in those situations. But unfortunately, it's not what happened because they followed the letter of the law. Matthias, I know you're a firm believer in the laws of the game. Uh, do you
No,
agree
but
with
you,
that?
you 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 open a very good point, and you open also the discussion to another penalty kick in this game. There had been discussions. I don't know where, if it's international board or somewhere else, to just allow penalty kicks when it's close to a chance of scoring goal. So the first penalty kick of Kokaro is the same kind. There, yeah,
But the ball is here.
yeah,
But the ball is here.
the
He's
ball is
playing the
here.
ball.
The ball is here, but I speak about the discussions they have had. They say, okay, the ball is here, but the players are not running towards the goal. They are running in the other
Yeah.
direction, and
Yeah.
there was no chance a goal could be scored out of that. So they are thinking about, in that case, why not allowing a free kick instead of a penalty kick? I don't say that I agree with it. I don't say that I don't agree with it. But I think it's a good matter of discussion. But because some penalty kicks are harder than other ones because of that, and that's a good example of it. Now the rule is, if the foul is committed in the box, there's a penalty kick. The foul had been committed in the box, so if it's a penalty
Yeah,
kick.
I know. I don't like that rule. I don't like that rule. And for me, it's two different situations: the Kokaro one and the Edwards one. Because once again, Kokaro is playing the ball. He's in the play. Edwards is completely at the other side of the pitch. So that's the only thing, in my opinion. But you know what? It's
Yeah.
the
But
rule. It's the rule.
Edwards is playing his opponent, and um, I don't remember the name of the guy who fought Kokaro. He's playing the ball. He's not playing Kokaro's
Yeah, Chase
ball.
Gasper.
It's
Gasper.
Gasper. He doesn't see Kokaro arriving. I
Yeah.
don't even know if Kokaro is playing the ball or if he's playing the
Oh no, he touches the ball. No, he touches the ball. Kokaro touches the
um,
ball. Yeah.
on the second one, he's vicious. Kokaro. He doesn't play the ball. He plays.
Yeah, the second
On the second
penalty.
one.
Yeah.
But on this one, Chase Gasper, he just want to kick the ball, and he doesn't see Kokaro arriving, and that's a bad luck. That's just bad luck, and that's also a soft penalty kick. But he touched him, he forced him, and I can understand. The referee whistles the fall, and it's not overturned by VAR, obviously, because it's nothing clear and obvious that there's no fall because he touched him. There's contact. So, but it can be in the debate of should we change the rule of the penalty kick, like you said before. But again, another change of rule. It's already too complicated.
We're all lost. We're all lost.
Handballs. We talked about handballs a few minutes ago. It's very,
man,
very complicated
crazy.
now to understand that, because it changed every year. So let's be a bit quieter with the change of the rules.
I agree with you. When this happened, with the Edwards call happened, one of my a person on Twitter asked me, "Hey, is it normal? It shouldn't be a free kick." I'm like, listen, they changed the rules so many times that I don't know exactly what's the right rule. In my opinion, it was an indirect free kick. And then, Emile Archambault that asked us a question. We'll talk about it a bit later. told us that no, it's a penalty, no questions asked. So very interesting. We do have a question from one of our followers, Amin Sabri, that sent us: Will CF Montreal challenge Edwards' red card, and if so, when? So challenge it afterwards. The contact seems very light to me, so much that the Chicago player did not react. At the number of errors unfavorable to CF Montreal, the timing seems good to me to use and win a challenge. You do have a way of winning a challenge afterwards for CF Montreal. Do you think they should appeal on that call, Elias?
I think they should. They won't win. They won't win because if you look at the letter of the law, if VAR didn't overturn it, there's no reason for them to overturn it, right? And I think that ultimately they won't really have much of a case because he did in fact do that. That being said, I still think they're gonna challenge it because you want to have that in the record and you want to have that you want to have them stated that openly they disagree with it and we'll have whatever kind of grievance filed, but I don't think they'll win.
Yeah. So what do you think, Matthias? Should they appeal on this?
You have a lot of points to consider before appealing, because you have a limits of appeals that can be accepted or denied by the league.
How many?
2 or 3, I don't remember.
Okay, for the whole season?
Yeah, for the whole season. So if you lose one just for that, is Edwards a key player in the team? Will Lapalainen be back in 2 weeks and be available on the bench? So for a player that starts on the bench, first, maybe don't appeal for that. And
interesting.
That's also a point because you may lose one, and so you have to take the right balance. That's one thing. The other point is some people when they talk about appeal, they think about replay the game. I read it. No. I know.
Really?
And I want to bring a point about that because appealing a bad decision of the ref to replay the game must be, I don't know the exact rules in MLS, but it's like that in a lot of leagues in the world, must be about not applying a rule of the game. So, for example, if the penalty kick taken, let's say by Coccaro, and Coccaro runs next the ball and Piet shots and scores, the penalty must not be retaken. It's an indirect free kick for Chicago. Or it's a free kick. So if the penalty is retaken and even more if he scored, the referee is wrong in applying a rule of the game. It's not a matter of interpretation. So the game might be replayed because of that. Mm-hmm. But if it's a matter of interpretation, like in the in that red card, no, you cannot replay a game of that. The referee took the decision. They thought it was a red card, and that's it. And I want to add a third point. In some leagues, in Belgium, for example, and that's very, very interesting. I love that approach. Instead of saying, "Oh, that was not a red card," they said, and in that case, it would be perfect if they want to cancel the suspension of Edwards. They said the red card was sufficient to itself. And it had consequence enough in the game, so there is no suspension needed. I know it's tricky for explanation. It's a way to say it was not a card without saying the referee was wrong. But I think it's a good way to cancel to raise a red card and to raise a suspension.
Yeah, no, I like that. I don't know if that could be something that could be done in MLS. I doubt it very much. I don't think they're that advanced in the refereeing system. We do have a couple more calls that were a bit controversial. The first one is the touch played by the Chicago player on, I think, the third goal, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, third goal. Yeah, on the third goal. And the last call was on the corner that wasn't a corner. what did you guys think? Let's go ahead. Matthias, go ahead with those two other controversial calls.
The corner that wasn't a corner, it happened so many times in every game, and that's frustrating because it happened to Molenbeek a few weeks ago, and I was so frustrated by that. So I can understand, and I think at the end of the season, such goals balance themselves. So it's frustrating. It's really frustrating, but what can we do?
Shouldn't VIR be able to,
Yeah,
go
but
back
VR
on this
will
decision?
stop the game, and then the game
Yeah, but then
will last
you get into the over
5 hours.
policing. Yeah, you're over
Yeah.
policing the game at that point, and
Yeah.
then
Yeah, no, I agree. But because it's on the corner that was played, we're not asking to go back. Like,
Yeah, but
but the
it's
thing is,
regarded as
it's
another
every
play.
corner. It's
Yeah.
every single corner. And like Matthias just said, right? You can VAR for a play that has happened before, right? It has to be the immediate play following, and you can't.
Yeah, no, I understand. And the touch. What do you think, Elias?
I have no idea what we were talking
The throw in, the throw in, the Chicago player was inside the pitch when he did the throw in on the
about. When
third
was
goal.
this?
The third goal.
Oh, I mean,
He
they get
was
away with
inside the
so
pitch.
much at the professional level in terms of bad throw-ins. That's
I agree.
I can't remember the
agree.
last time I've seen a clean throw. In the way that you're taught at like 7 years old, I don't remember the last time I saw one. That's such. I don't pay attention to throw-ins anymore. It's such a non-issue. Like for me, that it's they practically dig up grass every time they throw the ball into the ground, which is technically illegal, but nobody blows it down because we're grown-ups. We're not going to start policing throw-ins.
Pretty
As
sure
long
you
as they
have
don't
nothing.
take the ball and throw it like a baseball, then
It's gonna
not
be
really
acceptable in a few years. I'm pretty sure. Matthias, anything on the throw in?
Copy paste
Sorry.
of what Elias said.
Yeah, exactly. Nothing else to add, right? And last but not least, the extra time. 22, 23 minutes of extra time during the game. Matthias, we've seen that also during the World Cup 2022 in Qatar. It's been something that's been used not only in MLS lately, but in a lot of leagues. Not all the leagues, but in a lot of leagues too, where you've seen extra time for 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 minutes. What do you think about that? And do you think that was the right decision for the referee to give that much extra time during that game?
For the first half, don't forget that they had to that Kokaro was injured for a long time, twice, and there were 6 minutes between his first injury and the penalty kick. So there were already 6 minutes. There was the other injury, and there were all the stoppage times. So the first half, I can agree with the long stoppage time. The second one, there were the goals, there were the subs, there were injuries too. Maybe it was a bit too much, but I don't remember exactly the time when the fourth goal was scored. But was it the very last minute? No, there was still playing after it.
Maybe a few seconds after, but there wasn't a lot to play after. I think they played not even a minute, 30 seconds after the last goal. So
it's discutable, but and Sirwa took his time several times too. I remember the referee just running towards him to say go faster. So only that took 1 minute. So the minutes adding to themselves. That's a new instruction from FIFA, and do I agree with it? I don't want the game to be stopped too much, and maybe the players will have a more pace, will have more rhythm in the game if they know that there will be less additional time. But it's something new. We have to get used to that, and it's difficult to get used to that at the beginning. So I have mixed feelings about it.
I agree. I have mixed feelings too. I think that you need to count for all the time because at the end of the day, it's still a 90-minute game, right? So, whenever you're losing 10 minutes, it needs to be taking consideration. It needs to be counted in a way, but at the same time, the game is long. It's long for the players. It's long for the fans. It's long for everybody, and sometimes it's a bit too much in my opinion. So I'm a bit on the fence on this topic. What do you think, Elias?
Was it a lot? Yes. If he had given 6 minutes per half or whatever, I don't think anyone would have blinked an eye. It's just the fact that you ended up getting 20 minutes total that I think is frankly unnecessary. I mean, we're splitting hairs at this point.
Yeah, we are. We are.
There's so much else to be, you know, to debate or be upset with the refs with about that this didn't even like crack my top 10. But I think that, yeah, like 10 and 11 minutes respectively was a bit much, given that, 3 goals were scored in that, and 2 of the goals happened. It was the 9th minute of added time in the first half and the 9th minute of added time in the second half. That also maybe, stings a little bit more.
But if Montreal scored a 4-3, 3-4 winner at the very end, nobody talk about it, and everyone's
No,
happy.
exactly. And I'm sure Chicago will be like, wow, is there so much added time? But at the same time, if you concede in the 99th minute when you're up a man, you have other problems to worry about. But yeah, I mean, honestly, was it too much time? Probably. But the World Cup, that would be a short game in the World Cup. So
Yeah, we do have a comment here from Sam Faisal that says, "I think the referee got the blame for giving the away team 2 penalties in the first half. He tried to make it up for Chicago after. It's sad, but true." What do you think about that theory, Matthias?
Yeah. I think that people said that will never happen again with VAR. That's not possible. And look, the debate is there again. So I blame VAR.
Yeah, you don't like VAR. I remember. I remember that you're not a fan of VAR. Elias, are you a fan of Sam's comment?
I mean, it's pretty tongue in cheek. First thing I thought of was, that's what they get for beating Miami. That's what you get for being the league's golden boy. The league will go out destroy you. No, in all seriousness, I think that it's just it's a symphony of errors, and it happens, especially if you're gonna have replacement refs, and you're basically just you're reffing an entire beginning of the season with rookies and just rookies, for at the MLS level. So mistakes are gonna happen. Mistakes have been happening, all season, and there's been, a record number of VAR interventions and calls overturned by VAR. Um, if that was applied here, then maybe we'd be having a different conversation. But ultimately,
Finally,
there's
the
not too
referee
much
was consistent in his mistakes on both sides.
Exactly. Now, moving on, I think we talked a lot about refereeing. Let's talk about the game, because a lot of things happened, a lot of interesting stuff, a lot more difficulties, some individual performances that were subpar, others that were very, very good. So let's talk a bit about a few topics. So let's start with one of the main topics, which is Jonathan Sirois. Jonathan Sirois had a game. He had a very weird game where he did some amazing stops. Like at one point, I think at 3-3, where he stops, it's a 1-on-1 and he's able to stop the ball. And then he makes those 2 mistakes. The first one on the first goal, where unfortunately, in my opinion, it's a big mistake because he gets beaten on his the closed angle. And then the second one is, of course, on the last shot of the game, even if, yes, the wind helped a lot. What do you guys think about Jonathan Sirois' performance? Can we how harsh can we be on Jonathan Sirois after that game, Elias?
You can blame him for the first goal because offside or not, you have no business being that far to be playing the cross that aggressively. There's no reason because your defender. And anyway, that's he had no business being that poorly positioned. The fourth goal, I mean, you saw the video.
It's
You
impossible
know,
to read. It's
exactly.
impossible.
For those who haven't seen it, unfortunately, it got deleted off of Twitter. But there is a video from the fan angle, from essentially, the opposing goalie's angle, and that ball is basically heading out for a throw in, and then all of a sudden, it felt like telekinesis. It just stopped and then turned, and it is. Not only do I not blame Jonathan Sirois for the fourth goal, I feel bad for him because nobody naturally tracking a ball could have expected that. Windy City or not, it was windy all game. The ball was literally moving off the penalty spot and stuff like that. Doesn't matter. Nobody could have tracked that ball. And
I think it was very, very hard to track that ball. I'm gonna show you a
I don't blame
picture.
him at all.
I'm going to show you guys a picture. Yes, the video got deleted, but a very good friend and very big supporter of the CF Montreal, Tony Martino, did this
Yeah,
where
pretty much.
he drew the trajectory of the ball. This is exactly what the ball did.
Tell me that's not telekinesis. Tell me that wasn't somebody used their brain power and physically altered the trajectory.
that's
It's Captain Tsubasa.
It's Captain Tsubasa. Yeah, nice. Captain Tsubasa, Captain Majid for the people that watched it in Arabic, younger like me. So now you look at that trajectory, Matthias, and honestly, Frank Lopez used to say, "God never sleeps." Like it's I don't know. Like there's a mystical being that really played with the ball
Yeah,
to get
100%, 1000.
Yeah. Honestly, to be honest, Sierra could have done a bit better at the last minute, and when he's going back towards his goal, but the luck and the circumstance have way more importance, in my opinion, too. Like you both of you said, than what Sierra did. Yes, he could have done better, but he's not the first one to blame on it. And what happened, and there was one player putting pressure on Acosta, but also you have to watch the whole play too. And there's game circumstance, much of it that play.
How much can we blame him for that game, Matthias? For him, he's still young. Like he's not like he's 23 now, if I'm not mistaken. He's still a young goalkeeper, just being called up with the Canadian men's national team. Can we blame him?
You bring a good point. He's a young goalkeeper. How many games did he play with such a wind?
It's maybe his first one.
Yeah, so he will learn about it, because if he was a 30 years old goalkeeper who had played, 5 or 10 games with such a wind, maybe his position in the box would have been different, and he would have anticipated better. And that's why I say he has maybe a part of the blame, but it's also because of lack of experience of his youth. But he has to learn, like you say, and you cannot blame a goalkeeper who is still learning. Don't forget that just 1 year ago, he was not regarded as the first goalkeeper of CF Montreal, and he did a wonderful season. And he continued on his momentum this season, and now he's called by the national team, and he deserves it. And you cannot say, "Oh, Sikora, that's not good." No. You have just, okay, that happened. Some things like that happen. You have to learn from it, and you will just be better after it, and just continue on all the good things you have done, because you spoke about the save he made in the first half, but I think 5 minutes before the end of the game, the end of the regulation time, he made another important save too. So I think, don't blame it. Yeah, he made a mistake on the first goal, That's true. I agree with Elias on it. But goalkeepers make mistake, and everyone see them. And some midfielders they make a pass directly out of the field, and they don't target any player, and nobody says, "Oh, that's shameful for a pro player," because that has no consequence. So
Exactly.
the goalkeeper is just the one of and the forwards when they miss big changes, of course, like Kokaro last week, they're the first targets.
There's a big focus on them. Yes, 100%. I agree with you. And that's something that CFMTL said after the game. If I make a mistake, I have central defenders that are going to help me out. I have a goalkeeper that's going to help me out. I have other midfielders that are going to help me out. But when you're a goalkeeper, you make a mistake, it's directly a goal. And at one point, we need to feel to understand what Jonathan Sirois went through. And he said also, CFMTL, that he gave us so many points already this season that we can, forgive him for that. And I'm pretty sure he's gonna come back even stronger, in the coming weeks. So hopefully we'll see that from Jonathan Sirois. We have a bit of a comment from Tate that says, "Remember the movie Angels in the Outfield? Feel bad for him on this last goal." I completely agree with what Tate said. I do remember that. And Eric said he was live at the game. He said it was really windy in Chicago yesterday. I was live at the game. So, yeah, we saw that.
Look at the penalty kicks. The ball moved.
It was crazy
on the penalty spot. It was difficult.
Yeah.
Generally, it's easy to take a penalty kick. It's not always easy.
Sirois almost got a yellow card because the ref thought he was time wasting because the ball kept moving during the goal kick.
Exactly, and he didn't give him a yellow card. At least,
no, because he knew why. But he almost got both.
And Kokaro had to replace the ball on the spot. And so the players who were taking the penalty kicks, they had to focus on the ball if it was not moving because of the wind. So it was really, really difficult, and it was really windy, and it happens sometimes. And I remember goals like that, and I remember a goal allowed by Charleroi, but I don't know the era of that, and I don't know if Olivier Renard was still there at the time. So, and I don't know if he was the goalkeeper at the time, but it happens, and you see that every season. We don't watch every game in the league, but it happens every season, and the wind can be a player of the game sometimes.
Yeah, no, exactly. The Wind wanted to play, so they played and they scored. Defense. What happened with that defense? We saw that same those three center backs. Last week. They were interesting at times. They were weren't very compact in the last game in Miami too. Yesterday we saw exactly the same thing. What do we think about this back three, Matthias? Do you like that back three of Alvarez, Waterman, Corbo? Do you prefer Campbell in that back three, or is there anything else that you want to say about that defense? Because conceding 4 goals is never good for a defense.
No, and you concede goals at almost every game. So and this time 4 goals. And my point about the defense is who took the lead after the red card, because that's when everything went completely out of control. And then you need, like people like to call them in Montreal, a general. Who was the general? Who took the lead? Who said, "Hey guys, calm down. We have to do that, and we don't have to give the ball back to Chicago every time we have it. We don't have to sit back so much and to lead even the whole team, the whole block, because maybe if the block was a bit higher, Acosta would have done his pass from 5 meters further, and it would have been easier for Sirois, and the ball would have maybe arrived in the box. So that's a problem. That's an issue for me. there's maybe no leader experience enough with international experience in that defense. And when everything is going easy, it's not a problem. But in tough moments, like in that game in Chicago, it can be an issue, and we saw that.
Elias, Joel Waterman is supposed to be that general on the back line. Matthias is saying, when the red card was given, it was his role to really come and control that back line in a way. Do you feel we can, point out Joel Waterman's performance, after the red card, or it's a whole other dynamic in your opinion?
I think this is why both Waterman and also Laurent Courtois kind of downplayed that whole general nickname that Samuel Piet assigned to him, is because he has all the makings of it, yes, and he very well could be that kind of player in the future, right? He still is only now grasping with the lead of that back line. Remember, it was Rudy Camacho up until halfway through last year, so he's
Yeah,
really
even more
only
than
had
halfway. So yeah, even more
exactly.
than
So
halfway.
he's really only had like 15 games as the anchor in that back line. So like, give him a chance, right? You know who I would have loved to see come on. The problem is this happened after.
We don't see eye to eye on this, Elias. We don't see eye to eye on
The
this.
only reason that you couldn't bring on Victor Wanyama was because with Edwards getting sent off, you had to use your last substitution to make your backline whole.
Oh,
And
I
you
thought that
didn't
you
want
were
to sacrifice Matthias Choinière in the midfield.
okay.
I
No,
understand
no.
that.
I thought that you were gonna talk about Corbo being in the middle of the back
We're not
three.
gonna do that. We're not gonna do that.
I don't like that.
It's also not the time nor the place to have
Exactly.
this discussion. No, I think they had to make the substitution to get everything back on track with regards to defenders. They had to bring on Ousmane Diaby to kind of have your 5 defenders.
Yeah.
Victor Wanyama in a situation like this is the single best asset you can have when everything has gone to shit, and you have someone that can sit in the middle and not be fazed by any of it. That is.
But you could have entered Victor Wanyama and put Mathieu Choinière as a left wing back. That
But
could
I
have been
understand.
done.
I understand not wanting to sacrifice Mathieu Choinière's running in the midfield, because when you're down and you're down a man and you only have Joseph Martinez pressing, you need someone else doing the pressing, because you can't just let the center backs sit there and have the ball, or the defensive midfielder.
But you had Saliba. You had Saliba that went in. No?
Saliba had come off by then. Hadn't Saliba come off by then?
No.
No. He stayed until the end, right? Saliba.
He did. You're right. He did. Either
He
way,
was, yeah.
It was Yankov who came on. And then
yeah,
Exactly. So it's Yankov.
either way,
I know.
nobody presses the ball like Mathieu Choinière on that team, even if it's Saliba.
I agree.
Right?
I agree.
So
I agree.
I understand the willingness to not want to.
Yes, but if you have Saliba, Piet, and Wanyama doing a defensive job in the midfield,
but who's doing that kind of running, right? Natal Saliba just came back from injury. Samuel Piet does do a lot of running, but again, we talked about it last week, his legs are still not 100% under him, and Victor Wanyama will not do Mathieu Choinière's running, especially given the fact that
he doesn't run much. Victor Wanyama.
Exactly. They didn't really have that much threat on the flanks. A lot of it was down the middle, given that they have their target man. There's no point in sacrificing Mathieu Choinière to the flank when, realistically, you can put a regular defender there and have the rest of the running being done.
But
I want to hear Matthias on this, because you talked about the midfield and the 3 players like Piet, Saliba, and Wanyama. So, what do you think?
I will think more in general. I think there's an issue in the middle, because the low goal comes from the middle a lot of times. The pass to Haile Selassie comes from the middle. The shot from Acosta comes from the middle. The penalty kicks, the penalty kick, obviously, it's far from the ball, but it's something made in the middle. The goal from Alba last week, it comes from the middle. The goal from Musa in Dallas comes from the middle. So it becomes to be a lot of goals coming from the middle. And defensively, there was something to improve there.
Yeah, it's weird because you do have a very defensive midfield with Piet. Even Matthias role this year is a lot more defensive than it was last year. So, if you add that defensive presence again, you won't have a lot of chances coming from the middle. No.
But you have an issue with maybe
Yeah.
with the players. Maybe you need to have better players. I don't know, or to do something. I just
Interesting.
but facts. There, what I say, that there are facts. There are goals coming from the middle. It's just a list I give, and the list becomes starts to become long.
Yeah.
So far this season, after only 4 games. So
What would you change? What would you change, Matthias? Because we've seen in the middle that double pivot has been Piet and Matthias Chouanière since the beginning. Is that for you? Would
But
you
it's
remove
not only
someone?
it's not only in the midfielders, the central defense too. So it's a mixed responsibility in the middle, and I think, like I said, there's a lack of experience there, and because what Fiat and Chouanière are doing very, very, very well is preventing the opponent from playing in the beginning of the games. They are doing that every game from the beginning, and that explains all the very, very, very good starts Montreal had, and all the question marks over the heads of the opponents, sometimes very, very for a long time. But when the team is defending, is sitting back, it's way more difficult for all of them.
Interesting. We do have a question from Emile that sent it to us. It seems CF Montreal is dropping too low and under pressure or trying to protect the lead. What is it to be done? What is to be done? Elias, we talked about this quite a few times since the beginning of the season, of that second half where CF Montreal drops deep and, park the bus in a certain way, even if it's not a complete park the bus because they still, play the counters. But are we dropping a bit too much in the second half mostly, or do you feel that it's because we're away from home and we talked about it a bit more, or do you think something has to be done on this?
Yeah, I think the solution presented itself at halftime. It's Nathan Saliba. Because
But he
remember,
didn't have a good showing when he came in.
I think he did great.
Really?
For the little cameo, especially coming off an injury, I think what he showed is that when you have the three of them in the midfield, and you're not just relying on Piet and Chouanière to do everything, they pressed further up the field, right? And they were able to establish the possession further up the field. Now, again, you had Dominic Yankov, who I think, after his performance again, will probably get the start against DC in 2 weeks. But Nathan Saliba was a breath of fresh air for me, because what he did do was he allowed Mathieu Chouanière to press further up the field. And now they didn't have to worry about being outnumbered in the midfield. They didn't have to worry about being a double pivot and any holes that were left behind them, because you had two attacking midfielders who are not defensively inclined. Now you have three midfielders that are all hardworking, that can all press or drop depending on who's nearest, and you don't have to worry about positioning. Now it's just about keeping your shape, and the first one there presses, and then you can kind of organize yourself after that. And you saw it in the second half when they managed to make their way further up the field, and that's mainly what led to the possession in the in the Chicago half that led to the goal. Is the fact that now they have a block of three that's moving together instead of just double pivot. Now
Yeah, but
again,
the
you have
goal was from Yankov, so
yes, but
Saliba wasn't
that
in
was
yet, right?
after an extended amount of possession.
Yeah,
It wasn't a counterattack, right? They had possession for a while.
true.
They were knocking the ball around. They're
True,
moving.
but
It was like the longest possession they had this entire road trip, almost.
yeah.
And they were. This is what This is the kind of play that you want to see from a team coached by Laurent Courtois. And I think Nathan Saliba gave Piet and Chouanière the freedom to not worry about just being pivots, but also doing their job as box-to-box midfielders, which is what's expected of them in that middle of the park when they have a lot of work to do to support just two attacking players now.
Do you
And
agree with that, Matthias?
don't forget the role of the attacking players too. First, Kokaro. Kokaro is a threat always. So you make a mistake, Kokaro is there, and we saw it last week with the huge mistake done by the goalkeeper Calendar. That was a very good example, and the other teams are afraid of him because he's running everywhere and he's always a threat. And who was missing in the second half this week and last week? Kokaro, and the team sat back a lot more also because the other team, because of that, was more confident to play a bit higher. And also there's Duke, and I won't blame him, but I can blame him a bit. He's doing his job quite well in the beginning of the game, but the more the minutes go on, less Duke is efficient his defensive work. So that's also an issue. So the offensive players in their job, they have to learn from what Courtois wants from them. We also, as observers, have to learn, and I think we'll learn a lot when we'll see the team in the stadium because there are a lot of things we don't see on TV. And but I think their role is important too, and to make the other team, the opponent, a bit afraid of playing high. Could be also a solution not to sit back.
Yeah, no, exactly. It would be a solution not to sit back, like you said, 100%. We do have a comment from Wellington Sauve. Week after week, you have been finding excuses to justify Bryce Duke performance. You still think he should be among the starting 11? I don't think so. This guy is overrated. Elias, are you ready to give up on Bryce Duke like Wellington did?
I think if Dominic Yankov is fit, then absolutely. I think his performance was very strong, both sides of the ball. I think that Bryce Duke is not made to play this kind of game. I
Yeah.
think away games are his kryptonite. And overrated depends on who you ask, right? I do think that, right now, Yankov should have that spot ahead of him. But I think at Stade Saputo,
Who's the
especially
second one?
oh,
Next,
you
because it's
you
been
can
Vilsa, it's been
you have been saying I would love to
Sunusi.
see especially at home, I would love to see Kokaro, Martinez, and Yankov on the field at the same time, right? These are your three
Yeah,
big signings. These are your three big guns. I would love to see them on the field at the same time to see what they could do because they can, they can do some damage. But I think that we there was one play where I saw that and I said, this is what he has to be doing every game. It's he beautiful half turn, completely did in the defender, played a great ball into space for Juan. Stuff like that, the
oh man,
transitional
that
play.
control from Ruan, like wow, that was a Dimitri Payet control. That was so
Yeah,
good.
yeah.
That
Juan
was so
Juan
good.
was on a different level yesterday. But that turn by Duke and the stuff like that, getting into those
Why
half
was Juan
spaces,
subbed out? I still wonder.
I still think it's a fitness thing, right? He just does so much running all game. He doesn't stop. I just think that
I think he
eventually,
was tired too. I
yeah,
agree.
like
I think he was tired.
I
He
think so
ran
too,
so
but
much.
it
he
was
logs
also a
more
game changer.
kilometers than anybody. I'm convinced. I think he does. I think he's doing like Mathieu Choinière numbers, which is crazy, right?
Because
So
you have
uh,
2 weeks. You have 2 weeks to rest and
exactly.
forget
Yeah,
it. So you can push the players a bit more because you have
Yeah,
a
but
week
it's
after.
also an efficiency thing, right? Yes, he has time to recover, but if he's just too tired to be effective now, then you put in Edwards, who's been, up until now, was a very capable substitute.
yeah, I
So
agree.
I can't fault
He
that.
showed some good things
But
when he
back
came in,
back to
and
Wellington's point, yeah, I think Duke's spot in the starting 11 is gone, especially if Yankov is fit. I think that's a foregone conclusion now with just the gulf in
interesting.
play, especially on the road, especially with the types of teams they're playing, especially with the type of football they're playing.
Yeah,
I think Wellington is right that this is Yankov's spot right now. When they get home and they have the ball for extended periods of time, then we can kind of see the finer points in Duke's play where he can maybe make a case for himself. But even yesterday, there were some moments where he could have played the simple ball and he took like one touch too many or two touches too many,
he lacks
and the attack broke
confidence.
down.
He lacks confidence
Exactly.
right
And we
now.
saw it last year, right? A confident Bryce Duke is a problem. He's very, very good when when he's feeling it. The problem is I don't think he's
He
feeling
lacks
it
confidence. Yeah, he lacks
enough.
confidence right now.
Exactly.
Let's talk about one last player. No, two players because we can't not talk about Matthias Kokaro. But before that, Sunusi Ibrahim. Um, what did you think about that his performance? In that game, Matthias. He was heavily involved in I think this second goal with that great pass
Yeah.
down the middle to Hallis. Down the left to Ariel Lassiter. Um, I think he did very well. I really like what Sunusi Ibrahim is bringing down the pitch.
That was
Am
the first
I?
penalty.
Yeah, the first penalty. Okay, the first penalty. I thought it was second one, but yeah, it wasn't the second one. I don't know.
No, the Lassiter played the ball. Anyway, he played the ball
Okay,
across.
whatever. So I think. Do you think, Matthias, that am I being a bit too easy on Sunusi Ibrahim, or are you seeing some good flashes from the lad?
There are some good flashes from Sunusi Ibrahim. From the beginning, he's there, but unfortunately, he's very, very, very not irregular, but inconsistent.
Yeah.
And that's the issue with him. But maybe if he can find the spot where he plays with clear instructions and always playing at the same spot, he can learn and find a way to be more consistent. And what we saw yesterday, it's still playing in his learning curve because he doesn't play often. And like we said at the beginning of the show, is quite far in the hierarchy because don't forget Opoku. We haven't said his name from the beginning of the show, but Opoku will be back.
Is he going to be back in 2 weeks, or do we know when he's going to be
Well,
back?
they said 6 to 8 weeks, right?
It might be long. It might be long.
Might be longer.
But there's Opoku, there's Vincent. So there are a lot of other players.
Maybe at Saputo he'll be back.
Yeah, and but Ibrahim is quite a complete player, and I'm not giving up on him. Far from that, and giving him a chance at the right moment, at the right time. It can be helpful for the team, and just the coach have to feel and to understand what his strengths are and when to use them, and when the weakness of the opponent can make the strength of Ibrahim more obvious and more useful.
Yeah, exactly, because he can be useful in a few situations, and he is tough. This guy, like he's really physically tough. So I think that's something that you can use also on a tired defense. So I like that option on the bench. I like him also from time to time in the starting 11, but on the bench, I really like that option because he can come and bring that physicality on the pitch, which could be very, very interesting going forward in the season when you're going to face some tired defenses. So that's Sunusi. And last but not least, your turn, Elias. Matthias did talk a bit about Matthias Kokaro. What a player. What an amazing game he had. And he has the vice also, because on that second penalty, like he really made the penalty happen. Like,
yeah,
when you see the replay, you're like, it's a soft penalty, but it is a penalty. But he made it happen in a way. And if I was a Chicago fan, I would have been very, very mad to concede a penalty like the second one. But how good has he been, the Uruguayan?
This is what I meant by you can miss all the sitters you want and still be a fan favorite.
Yeah, true.
You can miss all. You can throw away a wide open net and still have the entire crowd love you, the entire city love you, because of not just the way he wins the penalties, but the way he carries himself the entire game. And it really does remind me of his countryman, of Luis Suarez, in the way that he doesn't stop running. He's always on your tail, and he will do anything in his power to get under your skin. And it took him like 5 minutes, and the entire Chicago backline wanted to fight it. They were entirely off their game in the first 15 minutes because all he did was a little shoulder check after the first penalty, and they lost it, and they were completely out of the game.
Yeah.
and that led to the second penalty. Right now, can we get an hour? Can we get 75 minutes from him? Can we get 90 minutes from him? Hopefully, eventually we can. That is starting to become a little bit of a concern for me that we haven't seen a full 90 from him yet.
Yeah.
Fitness, what have you. Again, he does end up getting fouled a lot and a lot of hard fouls, and he is down a lot of the time. So hopefully it's nothing too significant that will keep him from playing a full and not being a halftime substitution quite often, because look, he's got everything to succeed in MLS. He's got every tool in his belt. He clearly loves playing with these guys. He clearly loves playing for this team. They're very close to have caught lightning in a bottle, with
Yeah.
just every single thing on your checklist being ticked, I'd rather he be a bit more clinical and maybe take the chances that are given to him for free, like against Miami. But besides that, he already has 3 goals.
Yeah.
So I think that you can't
It's
really ask for more
very,
from him.
it's very, very, very early in the season, but right now we see the acquisitions made by Olivier Renard and Vasily Kermanzidis. As of right now, it's
5
looking
goals.
very, 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 very good.
5 goals from new
Kokoro,
players.
Yankov, Ruan. Okay, Edwards, forget about it. But they've been very, very good this time. Matthias, you wanted to add something?
Yeah. I want to add 3 things about Kokoro first.
Yeah, go ahead.
First, about the game and the second penalty kick. It's crazy because it was vice, like you said, Adi, because he saw the player was running on him, and if he took the ball, he was not sure to score. If he was waiting, he was sure the defender was to hit him, because he was not able to stop his friend, the defender. So Kokoro chose to play the defender and to play the penalty kick and receive it, and
But that's fair play. That's fair play, right?
That's the play. That's something call it smart. Some other call it vicious, but we won't reproach it. We see it very often. And the defender has to be smart too, and not to make that mistake. So Kokoro is and on the first one also he wins it because he's, don't forget that he's on the ground after because there is a big chance, and he jumps on the ball, and the ball is countered, and Kokoro is on the ground. And he gets back very, very soon, and he tries to get the ball, and he receives the first penalty kick. So that's great from Kokoro. My second point is a question mark about him. What will happen? Because we always seen him, and we already spoke about it a lot of times in the show, in a team that is sitting back and defending and having spaces. So Kokoro loves space. We have seen it, and he loves to run in spaces. But how will he play against a team that sits back and that is parking the bus, especially at Stade Saputo? That's something.
But he's a poacher. So I think he would, if you have possession, he's going to stay in the box. He's a fox in the box, and he's just going to make the plays that a real striker does. So
I don't know, because obviously I have no reference about him. I have not seen him play direct hand, but from what I saw on the video from YouTube and in his highlights in Argentina in 2 seasons, we almost never see him scoring like that. He scores with headers on set pieces. He scores when on counterattacks, when the opponent make mistakes, but on open play, we haven't seen him scoring a lot of goals. So maybe it was the style of play of Huracan. I don't know. Maybe it's because of him. I don't know. But I wonder what will happen. That's my second point.
Interesting.
And my third one is because you speak and Elias speak of seeing him playing 90 minutes. My third one is again about experience on the team and experienced players on the field. We have to protect him because it's the kind of players that gets on the nerves of the opponent, not because he's a bad guy, but because he's running and is doing so much effort all the time, always running, always. And like I said, the opponents don't know what to do, and at some point they are making force on him, and some force can be hard, and you have to protect him, and you have to go to the referee to be polite and to say, hey, that's not possible. You have to give cards and cards, and he must be protected. And obviously, the referee has to protect the players, but his teammates too has to play some role in it, and to have some influence on the referee to be more severe, to be more harsh on the opponents when they make force on Kokaro. And maybe if that happens, the play Elias spoke about almost 1 hour ago at the beginning of the show would have been a red card and not a yellow.
Very interesting. Very interesting comments on Matthias Kokaro. I can't wait to see him play at home and to see, him play in different situations too, in order to see how he reacts. I completely agree with Matthias, because there are quite a few situations where we haven't seen Matthias Kokaro yet. And it's going to be interesting to see if he plays the same type of soccer, or if he's able to be as consistent, as lethal in when a team defends, and is very compact. So that's going to be nice. That's going to be. I look forward to see what he's going to be able to do in the future. Moving on, we do have a few questions still on CF Montreal. So first of all, we do have Tate, a comment from Tate saying, I know we are all bummed about getting 0 points yesterday, but if we take a step back, it's pretty clear this team is so much better than last year. Honestly, I completely agree with Tate. I have a feeling that this team has a lot more in the tank than what last year's team had. And I can't wait to see how we're going to develop our play also, because for me, this is beginning of the season kind of play, and I want that to be developed a bit more. I want more possession. I want more risk offensively, and that's something that Laurent Courtois said quite a few times, saying we're going to take risks and we're going to create a lot more. We're not going to be afraid. I want to see a bit more, but as of right now, if we look at the quality of players, the quality of the team, of the squad, yeah, I agree that we have a much better team than last year.
It's easy. The example is easy to say, to illustrate. Last year, Lossad had the pick between Sunusi Ibrahim and Ofor to be up front, and now we have Kokaro and Martinez. So that's a huge difference. And there was a lack of creativity, and like both of you said, Duke was lacking confidence at some point, and now there's Yankov added to the squad. So yes, there's a huge difference, and the team is way better than last year.
Completely agree. Now, we do have a few other questions. So let's start with Sam's question, and that's for you, Elias. The 2-week break, good or bad psychologically for CF Montreal after what happened yesterday?
You can look at it as bad, because the team is obviously frustrated, they're riled up, and Laurent Courtois could channel this into, motivation for the next game. You have to remember, they've been on the road and they haven't been home yet. They went from Dallas, they played against Miami, they stayed in Florida, then they went to Chicago. They didn't come home. They haven't seen their families. Let them breathe, right? At the same time, you have 5-6 players now that we know of going international duty. If you include Ariel Lassiter and you include George Campbell, who's going to the American under-23s. Those are still important players that you're missing out on. So I'm not mad that there's no game next week. I think it gives the team a chance to also breathe and maybe recollect themselves and, not lose their heads. Because if you're a player and you feel like you've been not robbed, but, you had the game there and you feel like it was taken away from you, I'm ready to go for the next game. And I'm hyped, and maybe I'm not necessarily focused because I'm more motivated than focused. So this is a good chance for Laurent Courtois to maybe just bring a little bit of calm back into the group, get some training sessions under your belt, and then head to DC a lot more zen.
Yeah.
Good, without an hesitation, because the point Elias brought, I won't repeat them, and you're on loss. Often you want to bounce back, but at this time, don't forget that it's a team still in its learning curve with a new coach. So there will be more training sessions. The players will be at home, like Elias said, and you want to build something, and you want to build also on the mistakes you have done in Chicago, because the 4 goals they didn't came. Yeah, the fourth. Yes, it came from the sky, but the 3 first ones they didn't come from the sky, and the goals allowed in the previous game neither. So you have to still learn a lot of things. You have also to play with the new players, with Kokaro, with Yankov, who has been out a bit. Some players will come back from injury, maybe Lapalainen. So there are a lot of good things that will happen in those 2 weeks. So I think that the break is welcome and is at the right time for CF Montreal.
Interesting. I'm not really, that's a question I asked to at the presser to Laurent Courtois, but also to Samuel Piet and to Mathieu Chouanière, and I think they were a bit too frustrated about the result to really have a clear answer. But I know Samuel Piet said, at least we're going to spend time with I'm going to be able to spend time with a few of my colleagues with the Canadian men's national team. So we're going to be able to talk about what happened and everything. So I think we're going to be able to heal together in a way. And Laurent Courtois said, I think that it's been tough on the players because they're far from their families, from their loved ones. And, coming back to Montreal and, taking time with their families is going to be priceless. So maybe that's what's needed right now in order to regroup. But let's wait and see. We'll see when we come back. We do have another question.
And
from
just one point to add, don't forget Sirois, who has been blamed by some people.
Yeah.
We have talked a lot about it. He will be in a different environment, and I think that's what's best for him at that moment.
I love that. You're giving me the good transition for GF Senecal's comment. I guess Sirois won't be starting that game against Trinidad and Tobago. It's more of a joke than a question. We all know that he's not going to play that game, but you're right, Matthias, that he is going to be in a different mindset. He's going to be with players that have different realities with their clubs. That could be a good thing for him to just take a
something
step
positive.
back. Yeah, exactly.
Positive, because it's first goal, so it's something new to him. He will discover the national team. It will be like not like a kid in the ballpark.
A kid in a candy store.
Yeah, but it will be like that. He will be excited to be with the national team. It will be so happy. So just what happened in Chicago, he will forget it more faster and more easier than if he remained with the team and thinking about it that that happened and reading about it. No, you will just listen to the other goalkeepers' experience with the national team, the other players that have nationality experience, the importance of the game, even if he doesn't play. It will be so different for him. It will be I think great for him.
Yeah, exactly. Completely agree with that. Last but not least, from Dr. Foot, which Eastern team are over or underperforming at the start of the season, according to you, Matthias? So that's a question for you. And he said the rest of the panel with parentheses, just to be polite, but he wanted your opinion. He wanted your opinion about the teams in the Eastern Conference.
I think one team overperforming is maybe Toronto, because they haven't scored a lot of goals and they relied on Insigne to win. So I think they need to confirm the good season start, and let's see. And the teams underperforming are Orlando and Philadelphia. Some people will say it's because of the Champions Cup. Maybe it has a role to play, but I think that even when we watch their games, it's a bit disappointing what we see from them so far.
New England being last for me is wow. I wasn't expecting that at all either. What do you think?
Yes, me neither. But the Eastern Conference is so strong
Yeah,
that you have to have a team that is last, and everyone
exactly.
expected it to be Toronto. So any other team would have been a surprise. Maybe Charlotte, but Charlotte is a bit underrated at the beginning of the season. I think Charlotte is not so a bad team,
Yeah.
but so there are so many teams that will be in the middle of the and that will battle in the middle of the table at some point, I think. And I'm not surprised to see one of them being last so far, because the season is still young.
That will wrap up our CF Montreal and MLS talk for tonight. Let's talk about the competition, the Leagues Cup, uh, the competition that a lot of people love or hate, depending on how you see it. Of course, you see already quite a few groups. Just to let you know, it's the whole teams of MLS, but also from the Liga MX that play. You have 47 teams from 3 association with so Canada, US, and Mexico. You have 29 venues, so 29 home teams that are going to be able to host the game. And the competition is going to be played from the 26th of July, and the final is going to be on the 25th of August. At that time, MLS will be stopped and will resume beginning of September, if I'm not mistaken. Now, let's take a look at CF Montreal and their games in that competition. So they'll be playing the first game against Orlando in the Inter and Co Stadium on the 26th of July, and the second game will be at Stade Saputo on the 30th of July against Atletico San Luis, the Mexican team. Another game at Stade Saputo against a Mexican team. I can't wait to be there. Elias, you remember that game last
Oh,
year? Get mixed up the names
Pumas,
against Pumas.
so good.
What an electric atmosphere. Hopefully, we'll see the same, and we'll see a win this time around too.
Yeah, I mean, Stade Saputo always, rises to the level of the away fans. And when there's like 7,000 away fans, it makes the home crowd that much louder. Um, I think Orlando is going to be tricky because by then they won't have Champions League. They'll have sorted themselves out. I think that might be a lot more difficult. But San Luis is not doing well this year. They're near the bottom. I don't think they're bottom, but they're near the bottom. They've struggled, and they'll be at the tail end of their season, if not in the off season at that point. So I think that that's a very good chance at home to get a very important win. And as we all know, if you win one game in regulation, you're in a very good spot to move on, even as a second place. You just have to not end up in last. And yeah, Julien Tessier with a comment on the question from Matthias earlier. Atlanta only played 2 games, but I expect them to do
Yeah,
well this season, and they're winning right now. They're doing very well.
in New
So,
England, right? They're winning
yeah.
in New England.
So
Yeah.
another, it's gonna be difficult for New England, that's for sure. But yeah, this League's Cup. We said that the next round was very attainable for them last year, and look how that went. But this year again, we'll have to see what this club looks like at Stade Saputo. We'll see if this road form is sustainable, but I don't see any reason why they don't move on.
Yeah, that's
San
gonna be
Luis are currently 14th out of
Yeah.
18. So
Yeah.
to answer the question.
Yeah, but they're always so good, the Mexican teams, when they're
Yeah, when
playing
they come here, they find a different level. I
and
mean,
when they're playing intercontinental competitions, they rise up in a way. We always seen it in
because then it's a
the
matter of
Champions
pride.
League too. So it's a matter of pride. Exactly. I kind of like that. Matthias, my question for you regarding Leagues Cup: what should be the goal for CF Montreal in that competition? I know last year we saw a team like Inter Miami. It was clear that they wanted to win it, and they did at the end. Uh, do you think it could be realistic for CF Montreal to want to go as far as possible, or do you think that just want to make sure that they pass the group stage and then they'll see whatever is going to happen? What's the approach that CF Montreal should have in that competition?
In that competition, you want to go as far as possible because that's the goal. You start a competition to maybe not to win it, but to do your best. And the issue is if they qualify, if I'm not mistaken, they will face a team from Group East 4. That's Philadelphia, Charlotte, or Cruz Azul. So Philadelphia, Cruz Azul are favorites, and they are tough opponents, both of them. So it won't be easy, but just do your best and continue on the momentum. And also it will also depend on the momentum of the team when the Leagues Cup will start. But having a long break, it's not even always good for the team. Because if you're eliminated after the first round, you have a long time without playing games. So you need to play unless it's scheduled by the physical preparators of the team to have a new physical preparation for the second half, the final third, I would say, of the MLS regular season. But I think else you just have to play your best and to give your fans the best, and at least to give your fans a good show at home against St. Louis, because it's a new team the club never faced. I don't know how their fans will be, because last year Pumas fans are great because they were real Pumas fans. Because often you see teams from Latin America coming, and the fans are fans from the country, and they are Mexico, Honduras, but they are not real fans of the team. Last year they were real fans of Pumas coming from the city in Mexico, and that was great. That was excellent. And I don't know if it will be the same with San Luis this season. And I don't think it will be the same atmosphere, but it will be a different and special atmosphere for sure. So you have to enjoy that, and you have to enjoy the chance to face other Mexican teams, hopefully at home. But against Mexican teams, you always play at home, unless if you face one of the 4 protected teams, because there's new rule this year in the Leagues Cup. The top 4 ranked teams of Mexico have a hub to play the games, and if you play one of them, it depends on the run of the team, and you don't play. You don't always play at home against them.
Interesting. It's gonna be fun. I think it's gonna be a fun competition. I'm a fan. I'm not a fan at the same time, but let's wait and see what it's going to give us for 2024. Moving on with the last topic, last but not least, Mauro Biello. We criticized Mauro Biello a lot here on The Ball Is Round when Canadian national team debacle against Jamaica a few months ago. We were very, very tough, and I think everybody agreed with us in a way. I think it was justified for us to be tough. And when he did his last roster reveal, we thought that he lacked cojones in a way. He lacked courage, and he just continued in the same pattern than John Herdman, and we didn't see Mauro Biello brand on that roster last time around. This time around, it's the complete opposite. I have a feeling, in my opinion, that this is the squad that Mauro Biello really wants. For once, we're looking at the real Mauro Biello squad, and he knows he's playing his head in that for the men's national team during that game. That's how important it is, that game against Trinidad and Tobago. So let's look at the roster. So the roster, we're going to go alphabetically because that's the way it's written. So Thea Bear, Moise Bambito, Tejan Buchanan, Mathieu Chouanière, Derek Cornelius, Maxime Crépeau, Jonathan David, Alfonso Davis, Luc de Fougerolles, Stephen Stacchio, Alistair Johnston, Ishmael Kone, Kyle Laren, Liam Miller, Kamal Miller, Jonathan Osorio, that was replaced by Liam Fraser because he was injured, Samuel Piet, Jason Russell Rowe, Jacob Schaffelberg, Dane Sinclair, Jonathan Sirois, Ike Ugbo, Joel Waterman. When you look at that squad, Matthias, what do you think?
It's young.
It's very young.
It's very young. It looks like a squad that starts a new era after a big tournament. It doesn't look like a squad that is close to a big tournament. But that's some are the choice of Biello. Some are I don't know, because Osorio is injured, Laria is injured, Adekugbe is injured. So don't forget that some players are missing because of injuries too. But for example, my big shock, if I would call it like that, is Borja not being called up. Yeah, I know he's old, but he has brought so much to that team. So I've been very surprised not to see him. So that's the example illustrating the whole selection of Biello.
Yeah, and no 30-year-olds in that squad. You only have
there was Osorio, but he's out.
Exactly. You only have three players that are 29. So Samuel Piet, that's the veteran, with Maxime Crépeau, also a veteran. And yeah, Kyle Laren, that's 28, but he's going to be 29 on April 17th. So almost 29. Do we want to see that, Elias? Is it too early to do that changing of the guards, or for that crucial game? Do you need that experience for that crucial game, or not really?
It's too late.
I agree.
It's too late. We talked about it after Jamaica, right? Mauro Biello has almost sealed his fate as not, becoming the permanent manager of this team with Jamaica, both in selection and execution of tactics. This has been, not only is it a long time coming, it's been too long, right? With respect to Milan Borjan, Steven Vittoria, and Junior Hoylett, and all the other ones that were involved in qualifying for the World Cup and have amassed cap after cap. Thank you for your service. But including them more and more, knowing full well they won't be in the World Cup, is only hampering this team for 2026. You need the players to get into this ecosystem. Someone like Theo Bear, who is lighting Scotland on fire and is playing great. Someone like Joel Waterman, who may not be a starter, but who has to be in this ecosystem. Someone like Jonathan Sirois, because now you have three competitive top of MLS caliber keepers now, and you can really go to all three of them. Maxime Crépeau is obviously the front runner because, again, with Portland, he's presumed to be, one of the best keepers in the league. But you have three proper keepers now that you can go to, and if you include Tom McGill, that's four. So I think that, now you have your generation of players. 2026 is the objective, and he has to be all in on this. And unless there's a massive injury crisis, I don't want to see the old guard coming back.
I have a dilemma for you.
Go ahead.
What's the most important? To prepare the team for 2026 from scratch, so as soon as the World Cup was finished, or to qualify for the Copa America and to give some young players, some players that just went to the World Cup, or some players that don't have all that experience, and maybe bring the young ones to the Copa America and to give them another important tournament experience that will be useful to them before the World Cup. Because after Copa America, remember, they won't play a lot of official games because they already are qualified for the World Cup. They don't have to qualify, so there will be a lot of friendly games, but no game that matters.
Yeah, and that's why Copa America was so important, because you need to play these big teams in competitive settings. This friendly against Holland, that's great news, but it's not a competitive game, right? You need to
Yeah,
have those stakes, and
yeah,
qualifying for Copa America is your best. They almost complement each other here, where qualifying for Copa America is actually your best preparation for the World Cup. And that's why qualifying for Copa America is so important, because if you miss
yeah.
out on that and you have Mexico and the US that both are in that tournament, you are starting way behind in your
Yeah,
preparation
and
for the 6.
I want to answer the first part of your question, Matthias. For me, preparing for the World Cup is the most important thing. Copa America is, as Elias said, a step towards the World Cup. If the World Cup wasn't at home, then maybe my thinking would have been different. But right now, you need to start as soon as after the World Cup 2022 was done and dusted. We should have started with the new guard already to prepare for the World Cup. So those
Even
youngsters,
even if having a new guard was putting you at risk of not playing
yes,
Copa America,
yes,
that was
yes,
my
one hundred
dilemma.
percent.
That was my
Yeah,
question.
yeah, one
Because
hundred
they already
percent.
lost to
Because you
Jamaica.
had,
So
but also you had the Gold Cup. You had the Gold Cup that you could have played also during that time, right? So you had the Gold Cup with the youth. That would have been a lot better than seeing again that same roster that we had before. Like they had time to prepare also for the Copa America with the Gold Cup,
And
and
don't
they did
forget,
it.
I will give another argument for keeping all players. I don't say that I agree with that or not. I'm just asking questions.
You're playing devil's advocate. I know you.
Sorry if I steal your role, Hadi,
No, it's
but
okay. Don't
but
worry.
the older players also bring their experience to their younger ones of international competitions of
Yeah.
international play. So having them, isn't it also a tool to prepare the other ones for the World Cup?
Yes and no. Yes and no. Yes, it would have been, but when you talk about veterans, it's not only your veterans in age. Players like Alfonso Davies and Jonathan David are experienced players right now, and they play at the highest levels in Europe right now. So let's not forget the experience that they bring to the squad. So having those older players is not that important because you have those youngsters that have the same type of experience in high intensity games every week that can play that role also and still being young. So
You have that on attacking players, but you have no goalkeepers with that experience, and the defenders. Maybe what can Stephen Vittoria, for example, bring to a Joel Waterman?
no, I understand that you have a point here. Maybe defensively we needed a more experienced player, but Steven Vittoria he can't run anymore. Like you
But
can't.
you don't play him. You just
Uh,
bring him and you say, listen,
yeah,
maybe he doesn't want that. I don't know. Maybe he had discussions with head coach with Mauro Biello, and he said, Mauro, don't call me if I don't play. Maybe that happened too. We don't know because we don't have such scandals in Canada in the media like we have in other countries where there are 20 pages about soccer in every newspaper every day. But yeah, that could help. He doesn't play, but some coaches know it's. You see that more and more, and maybe Canada Soccer doesn't want that because it's more expensive. But they call 29 players for camps. And yeah, then you can bring veterans to just
yeah,
bring their experience. But obviously, I don't know if it's feasible and if it concretely concretely can be done? I don't know.
I think
Because
it's
I
a
don't
bit
have
a bit
all.
expensive.
Yeah,
Another thing to
I know.
remember
I don't have all the
nowadays,
elements.
the thing is with people starting professional careers at 16,
16.
17, 18, by the time they're 29, they've had a decade as a professional soccer player, right? And you look at, people like Jonathan David, people like Alfonso Davies, people like Maxime Crépeau, who was an MLS Cup you have all these players that maybe not internationally have seen some shit. Alfonso Davies is a UEFA Champions League winner, right?
Mm.
There's people there that, while they may not be in their mid 30s, in their late 30s, have a ton of experience, and that they can now, they can be used as a crutch by these less experienced players to kind of guide
Yeah.
them. Again, no Milan Borjan, no Junior Hoylett, no Sim Vittoria, but there's still a lot of players that have, European experience, World Cup experience. So I think that, yes, you're losing some of the elder statesman aspect of it, and maybe the almost, older brother or father figure
Yeah.
type dynamic. But if it comes down to experience and being able to, especially for these younger kids to learn from, there's plenty of experience to go around in this
Yeah.
group.
No,
I
exactly. I
think
completely
one of
agree.
the issues in your debate is that it has not made clear and obvious, maybe by Biello, maybe by whoever, when that change of guard will happen. It would have been great that after the World Cup,
Yeah,
someone has sit and share and said, okay, we will go with the old guard until Copa America, or we will stop now, and
Yeah.
that's the plan. But nobody
transparency.
talked
There
about
was
the
no,
plan.
yeah, no
So,
communication.
people are
Yeah.
a bit lost, and we don't know
Yes.
what happened and why and why not. And maybe just players are punished because the coach was not satisfied with their performance against Jamaica,
Mhm.
and that's just because of that. We don't know. We don't have explanations because it's Canada soccer.
Yeah.
It is what it is. We have one last question also about the Canadian men's national team. With Osorio out with injury, who out of Piet, Chouanière, or Fraser will get to start with Kone and Eustachio? If they stick with the three-man midfield, I will say Mathieu Chouanière. This is my answer. Anybody else has a different opinion?
Two for Chouanière.
We
Two
had
for
this
Chouanière.
discussion last week. You need a ball winner. You need a
So,
pit bull. You need
so
Samuel
Samuel Piet.
Piet. You need Samuel Piet.
So it's going to be either Samuel Piet or Mathieu Chouanière. We do have a bit of time to do social media, so we're going to try to go as fast as possible. If we can wrap it up in 5 minutes, I would
We'll do
love
speed
that.
round. We'll do a lightning round.
We're going to speed it because we want to stay under the 2-hour mark. That's what we're trying to do. So let's go with the social media segment.
Yes.
So
Welcome to lightning round. Social media.
your turn,
Here we go.
Elias. So let's start with the first social media. It's from
Yes.
Amy Walsh.
This is this is about Janine Becky. Obviously, 366 days post ACL injury, a brace in her return to Portland Thorns FC. Janine Becky trending on Twitter, which is great. Likelihood of her scale from 1 to 10. Likelihood of her being in the Olympic squad and starting in the Olympic squad out of 1 to 10. Go, Hadi.
She will be, I think, 8 out of 10 in the Olympic squad. Starting, I would say 5.
Matthias, what do you think?
I I haven't followed the team so much the last time, so I want to answer the question because there have been also changes in the women's national team, like in the men's national team, and it's not always easy, and you have a title to defend.
Of course.
Very
Of course.
true.
Next one.
Yes. This is again regards to the national team, not just to Milan. This is from Canadian men's national team only. Thank you, Milan Borjan, for your incredible work in helping us to the World Cup and the passion that you have presented our country with. Canada is and will always be grateful. In life, there are always new, exciting chapters to be written. We wish you the best. This is not just to Milan Borjan, but to every member of this quote unquote old guard that we saw say goodbye. Specifically with Milan Borjan, because we had this for Thibaut Hutchinson, but Milan Borjan, where does he rank in the all-time, amongst all-time National League legends. And, what's your takeaway from him effectively ending his run with the national team?
I always say something that not answers the question, but Brian deserves a lot, like the other ones, but maybe more than the other ones of this generation. He had a huge role in the qualification for the World Cup. He had a huge role in the performance for the Canadian national team. And just saying him farewell with a tweet is cheap. So it deserves another cap with the national team, even in a friendly game playing Canada, even if it's a single friendly, but just thank the players who qualified you for the World Cup in a good way, not like saying them, "Oh, okay, it's finished, and we changed guard." They deserve better, and not bitter. And because Canada was not at the World Cup scene since 1986, so they have to be rewarded for that.
Yeah, I completely agree with Matthias. For me, also, he has to play and to have one last cap. Same thing for Junior Hoylett. Same thing for Steven Vittoria. I think they all deserve because they've been so important to qualify for the World Cup. Completely agree. But to answer your question, Elias, where does he rank in the legends of the Canadian men's national team? I would say that he's right next to Craig Forrest as one of the greatest goalkeepers that have played the game for Canada. Of course, there are other with Matt Jordan, with Greg Sutton, and so on and so on. But I think that having that Milan Borjan has been an integral part of the team for so long, and it's so important for the men's national team to really underline that as much as possible.
I will play my historian here.
Oh, go ahead.
Don't forget Joe Kenaway. I know if you know about him.
Of course,
Yeah,
yes. I heard about him. I don't know him, but I heard about him.
If you heard about him, but he was a great a guy from Montreal. He was the starting goalkeeper for Celtic Glasgow for years.
Wow.
In the 30s, if I remember well. So it has been a very, maybe one of the best Canadian players ever.
Immortalized the gray sweatpants in the Canadian Soccer Hall of Fame, and absolutely.
Exactly.
This is from Nathan Georges. In reality, this 4-3 defeat will be 100 times more useful to Laurent Courtois for the rest of the season than an uneventful 3-1 victory in Chicago. Both of you, what do you think about this statement?
I agree. I think that mentally and morally for the players, for a young squad, there's a lot to learn from that game. It's going to be very interesting to see how they regroup, how they go back to the basics, how they get over that frustration. I think that's going to be very interesting to see. So yeah, a lot to learn. I completely agree with Milton.
And that's why I said that the 2 weeks break, but the 1 weekend break was good for the team, because that's how to learn from that loss, and not just to bounce back directly and to be focused on the game directly. Yeah, you have all the things to think about. And we spoke a lot about it earlier in the show. And that will be helpful. And as they will have been on their cloud and everything is going all right. So that's maybe the best moment to do this game.
Yeah, moving on with the next tweet.
Yes, this is from Martin Pilon. This is in response to the rumor that Olivier Giroud might be looking towards North America. We're waiting for you in Montreal, the ideal place for Olivier Giroud. You have 3 sentences to pitch Montreal to Olivier Giroud, and the club's project to Olivier Giroud. How do you do it? Go.
I will tell you, French city, where you're already a god without doing anything. That's the first one. Second thing, young players, you will be the star of the club, nobody else. So you will be the main focus of the club. And third, you will be the only because I don't think Victor Wanyama will stay. You will be the only DP of the club, so you'll be the most paid, and we'll give you anything you want. Yeah.
Matthias, what do you have to say to get that visual to come? If yeah.
I won't invite him to come. Sorry, because they transferred attacking players. They have Kokero, they have Martinez, and they have youngsters in their backup. They want to so they want to teach them to become starters in the future. So maybe if Martinez doesn't stay for a while, maybe Giroud could replace him next season. But for at the moment, it's not the point. I think if you want an experienced player, I told it a lot of times in the show, it's more important in defense at the moment than in attack.
Very
Interesting. Interesting. And
Final
last
tweet.
but not
Yes.
least, go ahead.
Yes, this is from Dido. It's a tweet responding to a little bit of teaser, a little bit of a throwback teaser on Canada's new jersey, which will be dropping tomorrow, actually, day in the podcast. Nike's been missing as of late, but hearing we should be optimistic about our new Canadian men's national team jerseys, which finally, by the way, so yes, finally, what are your expectations? What do you want to see on the kit? And how excited are you about it?
I want to see a new logo for Canada Soccer. Honestly, like it's time to change this logo, but it's not gonna happen. But yeah, I think a new kit would be really nice, and I hope that it's gonna be available for us to buy because it's been so long since a Canadian men's national team jersey was available. I think it's time for Canada Soccer to make a bit of money and for us to have a bit of merch of the national team. So
Absolutely.
that's all I'm requesting, not more than that. Matthias?
That's crazy that it was not possible to have jersey of the team when the team was playing the World Cup.
I still can't understand it.
Unacceptable.
So sorry for your hurt for cardiacs there, because that's incredible. So it's maybe something too late, and maybe it will be nice, but I don't know if the timing. That's something aside for me. That's something aside, and I will be happy with it maybe. But I think the team on the field is more important now, and they have prepared a nice kit for the World Cup, and I have something great. I have two nice kits even for the World Cup, because you have two kits,
Yeah.
and then have, make a good merch. The other merch, for the scarves and for everything else that are maybe not as expensive as a kit, and have all the people buy it before the World Cup, and then when the World Cup comes, they complete it with the kit.
Exactly. Let's wait and see, guys. This is gonna wrap up our episode today, episode 171 of The Ball is Round. It's been great having you here, Matthias. Thanks a lot for being here with
My
us.
pleasure.
Elias, as usual, always fun to talk to you.
Oh.
For all the spectators, guys, as you know, our content is always going to be free. We're never going to block our content. This is the way we think podcasts should be. But in case you wanna help us grow the product, you're able to join our Patreon page and just help us grow the product and try to bring it to another level. For sure, like you saw, we did the new branding. We have a new images. We have a new jingle. So we do use that money to make the product even better. That's it for today. See you next week for episode 172 of The Ball is Round.